The title does not lie. This is the first month of me making a graphic novel called Silverbell. If you've been around here before, you'll notice that this is a compilation of the past 3 weeks worth of videos that I've been posting once a week. This is almost an hour detailing the highs and lows of a really particular passion project of mine called Silverbell. Now, Silverbell is drawn in a little bit of an unconventional way, but if you stick around for the next few minutes, that'll become fairly apparent. This video is a compilation of the past 3 weeks worth of work on this project. Things have been relatively chill so far. Production's gonna ramp up incredibly fast. If you really want to see the nitty-gritty of how a project like this comes to life, not only the drawing and the painting and the actual art itself, because that's an entirely different thing. A little bit of slice of life and how that plays into the mood and creation of a work of this size. I'll sometimes be posting daily, sometimes weekly, and then eventually these month-long compilations. This story, Silverbell, follows a lonely, bell-headed doll drifting through the void of a destroyed world. Her wooden body is taken, corrupted, and destroyed, and she is left to drift alone as a bell herself, sort of a big sci-fantasy spectacle, through an intimate lens of self-discovery. The Kickstarter for this project begins November 11th. The link to follow our pre-launch page is in the description below. So please stay with me, and without further ado, pre-production.
This may sound a little bit ridiculous, but for this project in particular, this is the equivalent of sharpening a pencil. I am making a graphic novel with metal and going to try not to fuck it up. Hey there, I'm Jake, the imbecile embarking on this crazy adventure. I create Bellringer, an indie graphic novel series following bell-headed dolls doing their best in a horrifically dark, depressing, melancholic, corrupted, slumbering, nightmarish fantasy world. Good, wholesome, family-friendly fun. You may know Bellringer as the face of the adorable little torturer of the beloved Danny Mata, the hubris bell. Book 2 of Bellringer's main title is very much in the final leg of being finished. I'm close. It's actually tied into this whole making a book with metal thing. Yes, drawing a book with this, not this. At the end of 2024, after Bellringer debuted at Dragonsteel Nexus, and right before we headed out to Waldo's and Company for our sculpture exhibition, I found this strange little term while watching an art video. Silverpoint. Silverpoint is ancient, historical. Metalpoint as a whole, that is to say using brass, copper, gold, or beyond silver, existed as a sketching choice of the old masters. The concept is simple, but the execution is kind of maddening. You take prepared ground, mix with water, let it solidify into a gelatin, heat in warm water until liquefied again, and then you brush your paper or boards in 4-ish to 5 coats. That abrasive surface then takes the silver. Because you're drawing with metal, there's no erasing. Not at all. Every stroke that you put down is the line that remains. See why the old masters used to sketch this way? There's a pressure to perform behind every single line. It's also objectively pretty cool. You get to draw with metal. I've used this specific end of Silverwire, ordered on a whim, to do all the concept art from December 2024 through now. For this yet untitled project, I didn't do a tremendous amount of concept art. I bottled most of this kind of creative energy up, which is a little atypical for me. While still in the weeds finishing the second Bellringer title, this story entwined itself to the sequel story. Over time, I gave into the creativity, hence the delays in Book 2's release. Ignoring Silverbell actually really stunted the second Bellringer book. So here we are, channeling all of that energy into an artistic binge. You're not a AAA game company here. I'm one guy just trying to do my best to tell the best stories that I can. So I won't release something until it's ready, until the story is right. And here we are. Book 2 wrapping up, Silverbell is a titanic undertaking on the way. More akin to an indie film than making a book. So this early work began, all the concept art. But wait, didn't I just say we lacked concept art? I tend to ideate in the small, quiet moments of the day. Mira, my soon-to-be 7-year-old border collie, rules as the overlord of my favorite small, quiet place in the world. The backyard. My mornings with the dog are as long as a long conversation, not a long day. We throw frisbee, we play ball time, I chase her around, she watches me, I dive tackle in her general direction. There's rhythm. As a border collie, she was born to work, to herd, to watch, to observe. For years, she watched me throw discus, lift heavy weight, or make strange contraptions. Now isn't much different. We're best buds. Besides my wife Taylor, she's frankly the chosen sheep for a wanting sheepdog. Or the neighbors. Or Taylor. I do almost all the ideation with and because of Mira. She's my unwitting muse. She hears my monologuing about how Book 2 missed its deadline if it's not quite right, but how the Silverpoint thing is going to happen. I hear her chase the neighbors and sprint around the yard. I whittle, I drill, I hack, I paint. But when it's quiet, I breathe with the wind. I run my toes through the tall grass. I watch the trees sing. Mira does the same. I can feel her. Her angst when I'm out there too long, when she simply wants to lie beneath the clouds and watch the world move, where the worry is sung a lullaby in birdsong and rustling treetops. When the worry fades off, there's space which remains. In February, a friend mentioned that wouldn't it be great if we did a Bellringer event around Christmas because, well, Silverbells and all. This was a throwaway line. Silverbells. Huh. I've been so close to studying bells and drawing them and sculpting them and ordering them and making them. I had really missed the obvious there. One night, while hanging outside with Mira and Taylor, untitled Silverpoint project became da-da-da, Silverbell. Storyboards poured out of me. I realized pretty early on that our protagonist would be rendered in Silverpoint. She would be breathy and airy and light on a page painted in with watercolor, backgrounds, auxiliary characters, etc. I decided that if I was going to do this project and make a book entirely out of paintings, I was going to go big. So 18 by 24 inch boards that the book will scale down to be 9 by 12. Those 2 initial test paintings that I did actually had her glowing, and I was so excited. The thing about making a book in metal and getting all excited about a silver stylus is that eventually you're going to have to make that silver stylus. The initial idea was to use this piece of ebony to create a hollow ergonomic lead holder for the stylus. The lathe screw got stuck, and I gave up. I just took a quick stroll, kind of tried to relax a little bit, come up with a new idea, and quickly realized that I'd likely be having to make a sacrifice. The Musgrave Greenbelt, the greatest pencil ever made. Kiss it goodbye.
I mean, it's coming together pretty well. It just sort of, I'm concerned that the volume, I'm very concerned that the volume of silver that I have won't fill the mold. It looks really pretty. I think it's gonna look really pretty, I hope,
Oh, you poor sweet summer child. Just you wait.
whenever it's all finished.
So with the carving of the blank all finished, we got the mold set up and prepared preparations for forging day.
Look how faded it is from being outside because the doves nested up there. I also want to get Mira while she's doing her little trots. Hi, babe. Our backyard forge setup.
Oh, I know what you're thinking. That forge is gorgeous. I know you're really thinking, this guy has no idea what he's doing. And with that, you'd be exactly right. We paced around the yard for around 45 minutes, slowly waiting for the forge to heat up. Mira hated the smell. When I loaded the silver into the crucible, I got kind of sentimental, realizing that all the concept art was drawn with that same piece of wire. With it all heated up, the attempts began. And this first one didn't go very well. It hit me pretty quickly that the hole that I had made inside the mold was very tiny, but managed to get it in.
This is the moment of truth. Okay. I'm out of my depth.
Well, I managed to get it on that first one, but yeah, that wouldn't really be the case for the remaining few attempts. This one went okay. About half the silver went in down the hole. We won't really talk about this one.
Hold on. Got it.
Oh, maybe? Maybe? It's in there.
Ooh.
It's in there. There's silver in there.
Yes, I know, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing, but that's okay. I was determined. Then I just decided, fuck it, let's go.
It worked. It worked.
It worked?
It worked. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. It might not be perfect, but it's all mine.
No, it is not how I thought it would turn out. Yes, I absolutely love it. It's so weird and mangled and beat up and 100% looks like I forged it in my backyard with absolutely no expertise. With the stylus completed, I poured a cup of coffee, put on my favorite show of all time, readied the absolute mountain of research texts that I prepared over the course of the last 10 months or so, began organizing and situating the studio exactly how it's probably going to end up working until I get too tired of it and then have to change everything around again. I went out before the original calendar date that I wanted to start drawing so that I could solidify my small storyboards into a much larger format. That way, because I only have one shot with every single Silverpoint painting, with every single one of those panels and boards, I only have one try. There's no second go. I want to make sure that the story is really solid and we can take the small storyboards, increase them in scale, get a better sense of the size and the feeling and the flow and the rhythm of the book. It's essentially going to be 2 full drafts of storyboards before I actually sit down to begin painting. And then the day came. September 8th, the day before my 27th birthday, and the very first day of Silverbell production. The production of Silverbell will last the next 60 or so days until November 11th, 2025. 11/11/2025. That date is the launch date of our Kickstarter for this very book. Until that day, however, I will document the creation of every single page of Silverbell, 1 through 120, over the course of now, September 9th, all the way through the launch date of our Kickstarter campaign on November 11th this year. So welcome to Bellringer Presents Making a Graphic Novel in Metal, the Silverbell Diaries episode 00, pre-production. Tomorrow we will begin uploading every single day, giving you a real play-by-play look at what it takes to make a book of this scale and size and unconventionality, but also a real look at what it's like to make sequential art in general, and a little bit of slice of life as well. So stick around a while, help me with my sanity. Let's make a weird little book together. So day one's page is Silverbell being torn apart, her body being destroyed, and it's looking to be pretty fun and free-flowing. It shouldn't be an extremely complicated drawing by any means. There's no real draftsmanship or any kind of crazy perspective. It's pretty straightforward and simple, and I get to play around a lot with her and the emotion of the scene and get a lot of painting done. This is all this around her is paint, so it's a kind of nice first day to get straight into the book. Happy dog! Happy dog! That was exactly a bunch of hip thrusts with a plate of cake on my stomach, eating while I work out. Welcome back to the first few days of Silverbell Diaries, and wow, Silverpoint has been a blast so far. Slowly layering the silver on top of itself has created a really interesting shade. I feel like, believe it or not, metal is the best medium through which to capture metal. That shine on the bell, I'm fairly proud of it. I've been using a tiny copper bell to sort of mimic the light and capture a certain essence and feel. Wow, I am really, really, really enjoying this. That sounds great.
Cool.
That sounds really nice.
Subject.
I don't know. I just got back. The one-to-one mixture of ground to water did not
congeal properly. So I actually had to wait an extra day and let this harden overnight by adding a little bit of extra powder to it. I realize I won't always be able to be upstairs to draw in the studio, so I broke out this old easel that I have that has a broken leg, but still perfectly functional on a tabletop. Kind of sits at just the right angle so that I'm not messing up perspective or anything, but this means I can cook a little bit or make a pot of tea or a pot of coffee, go outside, play with the dog, and kind of in between things get those 5-10 minutes here and there. I bought this easel the week that I graduated high school. It then happened to get into the way of a small wrestling match in my basement. Really needed to go skate a little bit. I don't really skate. I just sort of concrete surf back and forth up and down my hill, but it really helps me get into a flow. It lets the brain relax. There's a lot of science that suggests that fast movement actually really helps the brain calm down because your mind can't capture imagery and focus on things. It really lets you just fall into a beautiful state of rhythm and thought. While I don't necessarily need a lot of really detailed drafting and architectural work for these first few pages, it is quite a lot of emotional draftsmanship. It's a lot of movement, things that I don't necessarily work into the original Bellringer book, and wow, it is very stimulating and incredibly fun playing with it in these first couple of pages. I think a lot of the shape and form here seems to be mimicking, I'm going towards like a Henson-esque Skeksis look, that horrifying, dark, creepy, voracious look. It's a hunger. Bare knuckles, claws, talons, along with that sleuthing, vibey, serpentine, kind of cartoonish smack, like with this ripple and smack. But I'm really enjoying creating and carving those forms. As the colors and shapes began to layer themselves up, I really started to become quite happy with where this was going. It's really fun seeing this come to life after just kind of sketching some things out with a pencil on a piece of paper. Now I will eventually show you the finished product, but for now, here, you can watch me make some panels with a perfectly sized Winnie the Pooh book. Hey, welcome back to the making of my graphic novel, Silverbell Diaries Part 3. Today we're going to tackle the page that kind of inspired the whole emotional core of the book. I worked out, I'm still sweaty, so I'm going to go take a shower and then do a ton of work for us today. Taylor doesn't get home till 10 o'clock tonight, or almost 11, I think. This little guy had been chirping in the house all night last night, and I'm glad that I found him, because I would be very concerned about he or she losing their poor little life in some corner of the house without sunlight and food and water. I'll just leave him there to find his way out. This sequence, which I very much like how that is coming out, I don't think that I need 2 additional panels down here. I think it'll take up a little bit too much space since I used, Winnie the Pooh to make these panels. They're quite a bit bigger than maybe I originally anticipated. And I like this huge breadth down here. So maybe, oh, Mira wants to go outside. She can go outside, go on the deck. Anyway, I'm realizing that I think that should be the focus of our page. And then maybe cut these 2 sort of star streaming scenes, because on the other side of this spread, page 3 has her moving through the cosmos. We're about to heat some water up for the ground, and once that is all nice and liquefied, we're going to prepare these two boards for tomorrow and the following day. So what is so interesting to me about this page in particular is that this is kind of the entire inception of the emotional core of Silverbell itself. The idea of her body being torn apart and then being reformed, as you will see in the next few days. But I love this idea that she isn't actually in her original body, as the protagonist of our titular book Bellringer is. She has a new body and is torn apart just as the world falls into a slumber and kind of dies, as is she. Pull two boards off the stack of boards that are ready to be painted for Silverbell. And it never ceases to amaze me how tall and thick this stack is. What's kind of insane is that this is likely still missing 20 to 30 pages that we're going to actually have to use. I didn't order enough stock. Yeah, the whole blood red color was not intentional, but it really does kind of, it matches exactly what I wanted this scene to look like. She is getting her life taken from her, except she isn't dying. She's only just come to consciousness upon the world falling asleep, and now her body torn to shreds. These splinters were a blast to paint, and I'm really excited to show kind of what I can do texturally with this paint, as I don't work in color very often. Yeah, I took Bristol board and sketchbooks for granted, and I will never do that again. I will kiss my pages every time I use them from now on. Preparing these boards every single night before painting is crazy, and it doesn't sound like it's a tremendous amount of work. And it adds up to being a couple hours of sort of this weird state of inattention where you're hurry up and wait. Here is the final page. Well, this one is going to be a rough one. And this is where the fucking up begins. The layout and the drafting of this page goes fairly well, but this is the first time during the creation of this project that we start to hit some roadblocks and creative stumbles and need to be adaptive.
You asked me what I want. Tonight you didn't ask me what I wanted, so I didn't have a chance to tell you.
This page has 3 panels in the dead center with a large panel on the top and bottom.
I moved in across the way from us, and we said we'd water his lawn, and the grass can only be watered in 10-minute increments.
This copy of Pooh really is the perfect size for the panels on these first few pages.
You're gonna have a very sleepy girl shuffle through the frame. I look real grumpy and disgruntled.
Having 2 or 3 episodes, some of the best episodes of Gilmore Girls playing in the background of drawing out these layouts was pretty fun. This diary has really taken on a life of its own, an artistic and creative challenge that I've thoroughly enjoyed thus far. This is Louise, my 8-year-old elongated tortoise. She typically lives outside May through September. As I filled her water bowl, she tried to escape. And then she got rageful zoomies. So this page isn't a complete fuck up. It just led to some creative frustrations that are necessary to get the best out of the piece. This is my final week of having outside obligations and being busy while working on Silverbell. Last evening I had to go outside and work while I play with the dog, and it was gorgeous. Go. I threw a screw in my broken easel just to keep it upright while I worked. Now, I had some ideas about where I wanted this page to go. I just didn't think it through. I didn't plan it out in the way that I really should have, and I made some serious mistakes given the color on what you're about to see. Silverbell is drifting through the fractals of this broken, decimated, slumbering world. All of those little islands, those in-colored land pieces, were originally supposed to be silhouettes. In my mind's eye, all of that was supposed to be this dark, suggestive reality. Well, I didn't suggest anything with those color choices. Then I realized it was actually getting dark. I needed to pack everything up and get inside and fix this. So I began filling this in because I'm really not happy with the way these backgrounds looked. I like the claws and everything, but the in-color landscape backgrounds look like garbage, absolute garbage. Due to the manner in which I felt comfortable covering all of that up, blacking it in with as much indigo as possible, my solution was pretty simple. If I had to convey that she was going through a broken universe, we were going to do it in a far more abstract and interesting way. Hopefully interesting. She is completely and utterly isolated from all that she has ever known and loved, including her own body. So, highlight the bell. highlight the titular heroine herself. Rather than establishing with environment, we would establish with sensation. The silver point aspect on these last 2 pages hasn't been nearly as significant, but the layering has been going well and I've been enjoying practicing. Another sleepy, Silverbell-filled evening comes to a conclusion. I woke up ready to finish this page as fast as possible. This bottom panel would end up taking over as the establishing thought for the environment. Full on into the silhouette. We'll paint this manor, paint all these islands in, and show exactly where she's at, as she is discovering it rather than showing it to us first. There's still quite a bit of work to be done to this page, but I also have to complete the next page and then prepare the board for the next few spreads all today. I'm a little bit behind, like I said. This is the last week that I really have outside obligations and business to attend to, so from here on out, it's pretty much all of Book 2 and Silverbell all day, every day. And you know I'm still watching Gilmore Girls.
So how about you come over at 1 and we'll get it ready? Hey, you know, Rory, I feel good. I feel like...
I am making a graphic novel with metal and going to try not to fuck it up. Today's page is page 1 of 2 of the spread in which Silverbell transforms. It's fun taking these small storyboards into the larger format. We made a little bit of coffee, and then had some outside time, then just went immediately into laying out the page. Now, even with all the iterations from the small format into the larger format, I still end up changing quite a bit in the final product of most of these pages. We're working on page 4, and essentially Silverbell, her bell and her soul come in contact with a really beautiful vein of what is essentially going to be that. It'll be silver on the page. In my mind's eye, this has always been sort of the corpse of a fresh fallen star, or a remnant of a star. And the page doesn't necessarily convey that. So while I have these storyboards, and they do tell me exactly what to do, we're just going to kind of throw them out, because I have a, hopefully, more fun idea. I think that changing the composition of those 3 panels will also be able to enhance visually what's happening, but also storytelling-wise, get it down a little bit tighter. Now, in terms of altering the composition of the piece, each of these panels originally moved right to left. Silverbell was sort of drifting on the right side of the panel into the left side of the frame. I wanted to minimize her, make her as small as possible, and then move her from left to right. In that first and second panel, she will be moving left to right, and then in that final third panel, it isn't that she's changing direction, it's simply that our perspective has changed. The idea with this panel is to show that as her soul comes in contact with sort of the corpse of this star, the star also reaches back out to her. So after she sees her reflection in the initial deposit of ore, the ore deposit or whatever you want to say, it begins to accept her, and rather than rejecting it like the past whenever her body gets torn to shreds, these are sort of a welcome, gentle, almost like falling into a pond. I want chrome ripples, which means I have to illustrate all of this metal, and I'm super excited about it. I'm also very concerned that it's not going to look good or I'm going to mess it up, but we're just going to kind of commit to it and see what happens. In my original vision in those first rounds of storyboards, you can kind of clearly see that it is her soul that reaches out to touch the material, but frankly, I want to draw significantly more, and this idea of empathetic symbiosis accentuates her story.
You feel like you're losing yourself?
I feel like I'm losing myself to the bells. In a good way. I'm really enjoying it, even when it starts getting stupid and frustrating.
And now you're a few days into it, too.
Yeah, I think maybe because the original idea was to do a full page a day. I had to stop because I have other shit to do. Once we get up to 2 pages a day, I don't know that it's going to be... It's going to be rough.
Just waiting for you to go off.
It's going to be exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Also looks like the silver point is also very fun.
Yeah, it's emotive in a different way. I think because I prefer drawing with pencil as opposed to ink. Mm-hmm. I hate inking Bellringer for that. I hate inking, and Taylor can talk about it. I complain constantly about black and white ink, which is why Bellringer Book 2 will start moving into graphite. It's way more fun and expressive. I feel more eloquent in pencil. I can actually communicate what I want to say. And this is closer to that, which I didn't expect. I thought it would feel more like ink because of how permanent it is, but it's not.
It's a more ethereal version of that.
Ethereal's perfect. I'm gonna get a drink of water.
Taylor got Mira a new car seat.
Wanna go in there? Oh, she seems to like it.
Aww.
Going to get water turned into going to get a milkshake, which turned into getting an ice cream cone. My back has been killing me, so Taylor drew me a bath, and tea.
That's so sick.
Thank you. You're so sweet. I was really having fun just playing with the metallics on this.
It's so cute.
Her little body. She's coming back. I'm probably gonna come downstairs soon. I think I need to get a glass of water or something.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how long I've been up here. This feels great though. God, this is freaking intense and I love it. We're gonna watch Gilmore Girls and eat breakfast. Do you wanna come out, Jake?
History, though. Well,
You think Kirk and Lorelai would have worked out?
We ate breakfast, watched some Gilmore Girls, and then I prepared some ground for the preceding day's boards. I was a tad intimidated to begin this page, but eventually you just have to dive in. I won't lie, I actually enjoyed painting this strata so much that I'm beginning to think about further storyboards, how much of this texture that I can mix into the remainder of the book. I think it could add some really nice variance with the really watery, cloudy skies.
It's coming together pretty well.
As someone who primarily works in black and white and is most comfortable in line work, it will never cease to amaze me just how quickly colors can blend together to create such a nice image. I wouldn't even say that blending is the right word there, but sometimes it is. You throw something down, you mix it together, you add something else on top of it, you continue, until eventually, much like this strata itself, everything begins to take shape and take form over time, stroke by stroke. So things are about to really pick up over here. Silverbell's about to become a daily endeavor, meaning every single day I'll be pumping out at least one of these pages on top of finishing book 2. It's kind of exciting. Next week we'll be addressing the biggest elephant in the room, which is storyboards. That is, creating the remainder of the story, which will fill out the remaining 105 pages, 115 pages of this graphic novel. I'll be exploring a lot of my creative process for the first time outside of my diary. For instance, why start drawing, why start painting before the story is finished, and answering those sorts of questions.
Ooh, like that. Look at me.
There will be a tremendous amount of hiking in the future. The harder that I work, typically the more that I need to be outside, whether it's hanging out with the dog or Tay and I heading out before breakfast. As I mentioned prior, the third week of Silverbell is when things kick into full gear. These last few days have really been about testing the aesthetics of the book. What techniques do I want to use? What colors would I like to put forward? What way do I hold the stylus? What way do I hold the brush? And what feels natural as opposed to what is challenging? This bottom panel is also the only page, possibly the only panel in the entire book, I believe, in which the silver point and the watercolor will be blended together. Because of the nebula cosmic energy, I really wanted to have something a little bit more saturated and a tad more artificial. So I grabbed these opaque watercolors I had lying around. Still need some touch-ups and some stars, but here you go, the base colors. I'm really excited to draw the next page as it has a ton of silver on it.
I know this.
The album sold 100,000 had a hit in a long time.
Yeah.
The tour is the high, but
And now, finally, I get to draw her head to toe. I'm also itching to draw these panels.
This is great about your relationship, but
I'll let you down.
I was going to narrate over the last clip, but I couldn't really skip out on the Gilmore Girls song. Look at all the texture on these boards. Look, it's Taylor! I have anticipated this page in particular since the beginning of the book because it was in those original storyboards. There's a lot of stretched, warped, liquefied metal, very challenging, in a way that I believe is fitting for the beginning of this project. This is also a chance for me to move the bell around in space and get a handle on the different perspectives drawing her head.
he said
test of the soupy?
Mira woke up from her nap because of the soup.
Taste test of the soupy?
She smelled this for hours. Was very hungry. You could feel and see the weather change, so we went for a quick walk. And God, do I love autumn.
Fucking needle undersize you. She loves me, needs me.
Emboldening these lines. One, I get to draw kind of over the character 100 times, and I feel like I'm getting extra practice drawing over her. Two, it lets me record a lot of footage because I have to just keep drawing and drawing and drawing. And three, it makes things look crisp whenever you zoom out, so I think the scans, like the photos, are going to look really good. Mm-hmm. But also, because it's 1,000 lines layered on top of each other, it's really feathery and pretty. We ran out into the rain as not to waste the storm. The dog's food and our food.
And also I'm telling the plumbers there's no water pressure in rooms 10, 12, and 15.
I'm making you some oatmeal.
I don't like oatmeal.
You've got to eat something healthy. Complete day. It's very,
Hello there, and welcome to week 3 of the Silverbell Diaries, a series where I make a graphic novel through unconventional means. I am making a graphic novel with metal and going to try not to fuck it up. It has rained unrelenting here in Pennsylvania, but that has given me plenty of time to draw and hang out with the dog. This page is where we begin to challenge form and function. There are 4 separate bells on this page, each in a slightly different direction. Not only do these bells have variances in their perspective, but some of them aren't actually bells at all. They're sort of the head of the bell as it begins to solidify and take shape, forming her body inside of this crazy liquid, primordial, esoteric, cosmic rebirth. Now, evidently, I already drafted all this stuff the day prior, but shading this in is a serious challenge. I'm not especially proficient in metalwork, and while I'm confident enough in shading in bells, specifically because I've worked on them in the past, creating Bellringer books 1 and 2 along with our vignettes, not only does Silverbell's bell not resemble anything that was in any prior Bellringer media, as I really wanted her to be distinct and have a strong silhouette in accordance with the other characters throughout Bellringer. But this being the page that she's actually created in, it's pretty evident that her body is not made of wood. Every Bell Knight up until now, throughout vignettes, Lamentations of the Lavender Lamb, and Bellringer books 1 and 2, has had a wooden body, along with all of my sculptures. I've never gone into this new territory and the adventure of drawing a character entirely encased in metal. Silverbell's new body, which is kind of this cross between floral forms and an old school posable doll, leads to this mix of industrial and organic shapes, which allows for a lot of leniency along with a lot of artistic expression on the page rather than copying the patterns off an old chrome Chevy to get the metallic tint. I truthfully needed a little bit of a break from staring at screens and staring at boards, so Taylor thought it would be an awesome idea to collect some leaves from outside and spike all of our reptile enclosures with fresh leaf litter. A variety of hardwood leaves from outside and then boil or bake them to get rid of all the bacteria. And then that leaf litter becomes food for your microbiome, your isopods, springtails, and other small insects or crustaceans that may live inside the soil. We have quite a few animals besides my tortoise who lives outside currently, and you'll probably be seeing quite a bit more of them as time goes on.
That's probably enough for now, but it's a good...
This is kind of what I'm referring to when I say that it's the head of a bell coming out of a crazy liquidy form. This is her coming to life. All of these little kind of folds and wrinkles, I really want them to be rendered well, and considering that these pages are rendered at double the scale of the eventual physical publication, I wish for a clear yet striking image. You can really not get the same value scale with Silverpoint as you can with pencil, but honestly, with all these layers, I'm psyched. I so love it. Now we have to take a quick break from drawing to go reach out to a bunch of podcasts. Due to the nature of this project becoming a Kickstarter on November 11th, I want to be as thorough as possible with all of the media and promotion that I possibly can. A big part of that in the current day means reaching out to as many podcasts and interview shows as possible. The vast majority of these people I listen to when I go walk my dog or go play frisbee with her in the morning, as you've seen multiple times in these videos. that sort of thing. I don't listen to a ton of podcasts, but especially when I was starting out with Bellringer and learning about sequential art, I probably listened to at least 2 to 3 episodes of each one of the podcasts that I'm reaching out to. And every single one of these people, whether they be a single person or a show, greatly inspired and pushed me forward in that process. I wanted to grasp a solid handle on the culture, on what people did in the industry, and on what I could bring to the industry, and what I can carve out for myself on my own little island. So this week, I got a surprise delivery that I've been looking forward to, but didn't expect to come in so early. For me, whenever I'm working on a project, comfort and tools matter quite a bit. I associate certain sweaters with certain activities. I have separate pens for separate books and/or the universes in which those stories are written. Because Silverbell requires so much work in so many different disciplines, the single overarching tool that touches videography, painting, art, promotion, even the travel, would be coffee or tea. And even more importantly, the vessel which holds that coffee or tea. About a month ago at Worldcon Seattle, we went to this incredible gallery called Art on the Table. The entire place is a curated selection of Japanese pottery, and it wasn't ridiculously expensive. And thus I present the Silverbell cup.
Okay, Monday through Saturday.
So after a stormy, rainy week, where we had rain for 6 days straight, the weather cleared and we had sun for a day or two, and then the fog rolled in. Honestly, such a beautiful, perfect morning, tranquil and serene, especially on a day where I get to paint her in reflective waves. I also had way more large particles on this board, same as the last one. I'm going to try to be far more diligent in the future because, God, they just get right in the way. So yes, the world has fallen asleep, and yes, I've been using a primarily dark color palette, but that isn't all this book is going to feel like, and it's definitely not all it's going to look like. Although her body was destroyed, now she's been reformed. And in that new birth, I wanted to have a sense of exploration as she begins to realize that not only can she walk and move around like she could before, but now she can float, and her body kind of has a mind of its own. I consider just about this entire project to be an exercise in challenging my own weaknesses. If Bellringer books 1 and 2 are entirely done in black and white, line art, graphic style, this book kind of dismisses everything that I've already taught myself. First off, we're drawing with Silverpoint here, and while it does sort of feel like a pencil at times, it is not a pencil. It is incredibly permanent. Every single one of those marks terrifies me. I accidentally brushed the boards a couple times with the back of the stylus and almost had a heart attack. It isn't just the stylus itself. It's almost the brushes and the watercolor that scares me even more. In the original Bellringer volumes, it's very easy for me to make those choices. White here, black here, a style of drawing that I'd kind of honed by drawing on the back of my homework my entire childhood, and ended up taking that into doing sketches, cover art, and such for the novels that I'd been working on for years afterwards. Now, I studied and challenged myself really harsh in those first couple of books, especially Bellringer Books 1. Almost every single page I was trying a new technique that I was uncomfortable with in order to get better, knowing that I can push myself further and further when I storyboarded the next section of pages. But messing around into color, there's no more black and white. There are a million different decisions to be made. So my approach to this is very much the same as the first book. Go with my intuition and my instinct. I want to go for the evocation of feeling, a provocation of emotional response. Blah blah, whatever, pretentious. What I'm trying to say is that I want you to feel it, okay? I don't necessarily care about exactly the way light is supposed to behave in reality, the way it's going to reflect off the waves, the way that the particular color of sky is going to reflect off the grass, the way that the grass is going to move in the wind. I don't really care. Whenever you shoot a film, you don't only use the light overhead. There are a million artificial lights around to portray something the way that you want to portray it so that you can feel something in the way you want to feel it. So that's going to be my approach to this entire book. We're going to play with what works, have a particular palette that we draw from, and move forward with every new panel. I'm really terrified to mess it up, but it's very fun. I'm in love with the texture and feel of watercolor, not just the color itself, but the actual borders in between what you're drawing. What I mean by that is the negative space, the beautiful white brightness that it kind of creates beneath everything. For the sky, I went with the available palette of prior celestial scenes within this book, but I did want to add a little bit of a deep indigo to that water, which actually evokes what's on page 3s and 4, where we have a lot of rich, saturated indigo evoking space. I'm not quite sure how much the camera is going to pick up, but I'm overall so excited about this page. I need to go in and touch up a little bit of those oversaturated bits or resaturate other pieces of the work, but overall, I love this page. Also, it's not finished, but most of these pages aren't finished when I show them to you because I still work on them and touch them up later in the evening.
It was good. It was actually, it's the news. Sorry, I cut you off. 10 out of 10.
Mother bears with cubs in tow. There's plenty of food when the fish arrive.
Silverbell does not have the luxury of paper, so once again we have to prepare the boards. Preparing the boards each day has kind of been a constant throughout this entire process. I wake up, prepare the grounds, rehydrate the grounds around 2 hours later in warm water, and then have to create the boards. If I don't make the boards, I can't draw the next day. Taylor's ball python keeps getting behind its background back here. She keeps getting behind her cork background, so she has to secure them, which means she needs to go into a temp enclosure while the silicone hardens. Oh, you can see her there. But there she is. Girl.
I'm confused.
You can't go behind your background, sweetheart.
It's been forever since I hold you, huh? I was letting you live your little life. I was letting you live your little life back there.
The temporary enclosure for Taylor's ball python. So besides the hilarious little snake drama, she's all safe and sound, everybody. The day was essentially dominated by storyboards. I have hit that point in the Silverbell process where the early development and pre-production has essentially come to a close, and now we're full on into the project. While I have the story of Silverbell solidified in my mind, and in my heart especially, that spirituality needs to come forth on the page. For this project, I did not storyboard the entire thing front to back, which means it is time to go through that relatively complex process all over again, and create a concrete outline that we can move forward with for the remaining however many pages we need to do. A far more elaborate video is going to come out on that process this week, and I hope that you enjoy it. You won't only see exactly how I go panel by panel and conceptualize the original and early stages of these books, but I'll also show you a lot of Bellringer books 1 and 2, and how my process began, the genesis of all of this, and where those ways of thinking have taken me now in terms of the project that you're seeing unfold week by week. We have now reached the number of outlined pages in Silverbell, which only means one thing. Today is storyboarding day. Storyboarding day. That is how we take the original page and we scale it up in our sketchbook and then we take it to the finale. In the original renderings, she still has a body here. And what I hadn't realized is that this is what I wanted. True destruction, desecration. These bright whites, almost a nod or a suggestion of empty space. Her soul is attached to the bell in that bright, beautiful blue, but it's in contrast and in combat. It is aggressively opposed to the remainder of the page, which is these dark blood, inky reds, blacks, purples. Unbelievable to me that this is the end of week 3, which ultimately is the end of the first month. It's hard to describe how much more there is going to be, but it's going to be enormous. Stay tuned.